Keith Andrew, along here with a good friend of mine, James Willie. And I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Absolutely, buddy. How's everyone doing out there? How are you?
Pretty good. We're both from New York, so how you doing with the snow?
It wasn't too bad. I had some really good neighbors. I was out all day yesterday, so they actually shoveled for me when I came home, so that was pretty awesome.
Now, from what part of New York are you from?
I'm over in Staten Island. What about you?
You ever been to West Point?
Is it upstate?
It's about an hour and a half, hour 45 minutes from the city.
Okay. Nice.
It's just our spare, excuse me, I don't mean to hesitate. It's near Woodbury Commons.
Oh, okay. I know where that is.
No, so it's
that's a real nice area.
It's not bad.
You're being modest. Give me 1 second. I have a whining dog. I just got to let her out real quick.
All right, take your time.
Just got to go in the backyard. Anyway, all right, go ahead.
So I was wondering, when you were in high school, how did you start becoming a professional wrestler, or who influenced you? And to go back to the first question, when you were in high school, did you imagine yourself being where you are today?
So, I've been a professional wrestling fan my entire life, and it was kind of all I ever dreamed about. So I always wanted to be a wrestler, but I never had the means to become one. And in high school, I think when I was 14 years old, there's this WWF Hall of Famer, Johnny Rods. He actually moved in around the corner from me. He owns a professional wrestling school called Gleason Gym in Brooklyn, New York. And I began talking to him. I built a friendship with him when I was about 14 or 15 years old. And then for my 16th birthday, my mother paid for wrestling school for me. So that's where that began. Looking back then, I had no idea where I would be now because I wasn't as dedicated then as I am now. It was kind of just a kid doing, hard to explain. I wasn't mature enough to be a professional wrestler at the time. I was just a kid wrestling, you know what I mean?
Right.
Right, so it's to envision where I am now, it's amazing to me.
What about in your college? What did you major in? Or did you major in wrestling?
I wish. I majored in communications. I figured that would be the best background for wrestling because it teaches you everything you need to know about the media industry and the entertainment world. So I would take classes in film and take classes in acting and television. So this way I could present myself in front of a camera and speak eloquently enough to get my point across no matter where I am.
No, absolutely. I agree with you.
It also helped me drop the New York accent a little bit to regionalize myself a little less.
Well, if you have an accent, you should always use it. You shouldn't do it, hide it.
Right. It's the only problem is with the accent is in, let's say, WWE. They're a worldwide company, so you might not cater to a certain demographic. Like I used to have a very strong New York accent. Southern people don't really like us New Yorkers. So let's say the Southern people heard my New York accent. They're not going to like me very much. So that's why I had to try to tone it down a little bit.
That's true. And you bring up a good point. Remember Kobe Kingston was supposedly from Western Africa. And there's a part where he dropped his character and he talked normally. It's
out of nowhere.
And everyone's like, what the hell? I thought you were from Western Africa. Well, what happened to your accent?
Yeah, and that happened. It was just one day he just spoke normally, just out of nowhere. They just dropped the gimmick. They dropped everything. And he was just a normal speaking Boston kid.
Now, while on the subject of being a wrestler, how did you get your start? What stars influenced you to get to where you are?
So I'm a child of the 90s, so needless to say, Stone Cold, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, all those guys are the guys that I looked up to as a kid because those were heroes, those were idols. I mean, in this generation, wrestling took over the world for a point, and it was great because when I was very young, I watched it because my dad watched it and my stepmother watched it, and I was able to hang out with my friends and talk about it. But in school, wrestling wasn't cool when you were a young kid because it was all about Doink the Clown and all these characters, and people made fun of it.
Right.
And then once the Attitude Era came in, everyone was all about wrestling, so it was awesome because all my friends became wrestling fans. So all my buddies were playing with the action figures, talking about it at the lunch table, everything, which was great because now I had an outlet for this dream of mine, and I didn't have to hide it really anymore. So those are the guys I look up to. Sorry, my dog is being a complete pain in the ass right now.
Not a problem.
Just coming in and out.
That's the best part about being live. Anything can happen.
She likes to be a pain in my ass when I'm doing important things.
Now, you mentioned the Attitude Era. I wasn't really a big fan of it. I grew up towards, you think I'm a loser, but I grew up in the Hulk Hogan era.
Okay.
And I'm 26, going to be 27.
I'm 23, so we're not far apart.
But I grew up, the Hogan era, the Savage, Bret Hart. I do have a funny Bret Hart story if you'd like to hear later on.
Absolutely.
The Undertaker. The reason I got into wrestling, like I said, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, The Undertaker, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a wrestler. And before I tell you what killed wrestling for me, did you ever, and I think this is an oxymoron on my part, did you ever reenact wrestling moves?
Oh, of course. But, alright, so here's the thing. I would reenact the wrestling moves with, stuffed animals, not with people. So a lot of my friends were doing, backyard wrestling, but to me, I never wanted to do it because I wanted to do everything professionally. That's why I was so young when I started going to wrestling school, because I wanted to take the correct path and not do anything half-assed. I just wanted to actually go the right route. So one of my best friends was doing backyard wrestling, and it's funny because backyard wrestling actually helped him in professional wrestling because he didn't care. He did all the crazy shit when he was backyarding, so when he got to the ring, it was nothing because he now had a padded ring instead of a concrete floor in his yard.
No,
it's fun. I think we all as wrestling fans reenacted the moves in some form.
It's funny you should mention that, you forgot to think I'm a loser, but I did the same exact thing. My sister used to have those full-size teddy bears. And I used to do the superplex, I used to do the sharpshooter, because it was the same size as me.
Right.
My brother said, I want to give you a jackknife, and I said no. So I used to lay down on my back, and he used to pick me up on my legs and just drop me, because the feeling of being flipped through the air, I hated that. It was the worst feeling. But he still holds it. Remember the time I tried to jackknife you and you started to cry?
Is your brother's older than you?
Yeah, I'm the youngest.
Yeah, see, I have a younger brother, and once he came of age, we beat the shit out of each other. He was a dirty fighter, too. He would hit me with his toy pianos. He would throw things at me. We're 8 years apart, so I was probably, 10 and he was 4, and he was just kicking my ass. It was bad.
Now, the reason I brought up, I don't mean to hesitate, I apologize.
No, it's all good,
one of the things that my grandfather used to make fun of us. He said, I told you, because of the whole big thing, well, what was the difference between you reenacting wrestling moves? Were your parents supportive? When you were in school, did school acknowledge about how come you always coming in beat up? Was that, or was it not an issue?
So, obviously my mother was supportive, seeing as she paid for wrestling school.
Right.
But she wasn't supportive at first in, the grand scheme of things. With me traveling all over the country and me coming home hurt all the time. After time, she obviously accepted it. Now she comes to all my shows. She loves it. She has a blast. But she was very nervous at first. And school actually tried to get me to join the wrestling team, but I couldn't by state law because I had accepted money for wrestling, so I couldn't become an amateur wrestler because I was already a professional wrestler.
Right.
So by state law, I wasn't able to wrestle amateurly, which actually kind of sucks because I wanted to, because I wanted to learn that style, because it actually helps with professional wrestling to learn the actual Greco-Roman wrestling.
No, absolutely. And there's a lot of people, like you and me, that did reenacting wrestling moves, like the Hardy Boys,
Right.
Mickey James, Trish Stratus. Unfortunately, because, tell you the long story, and you can read about this in my book I'm writing about. I don't mean to bitch to you, but basically, there's this teaser nurse who, that's the year before I went to middle school. My brother had a splinter in his finger.
Okay.
And basically, I'll make a long story short, she fucked up and my brother almost lost his finger.
Oh, that's terrible.
And my mom wanted her fired and, reported. So this woman had a vendetta against my mother. So when I used to reenact wrestling moves, and I used to play very close, so when Toy used to hit the ring and hit me in the face, I wasn't really smart. Now I know, it's like, okay, you have to play at a distance, not play close to your face. Basically, that opened a fake case of child abuse.
Oh, wow.
And, it didn't matter. My grandfather, I was telling you, he used to joke around with us like, oh, why are you watching this garbage? You see that they're not even hitting each other. It's all fake. And he said, I told you not to want him watch wrestling. I told you it's got to come back and bite you in the ass. He didn't listen to me. So, that created a dark cloud. I didn't care. I still reenacted the wrestling moves. It's like, that's great. It's exercise, but it had opened a whole big can of shit. But
that's terrible. That's crazy.
But I'm sorry, I don't mean to bitch to you.
No, dude, I'm all ears, man. I'm all ears. That's an insane story. I mean, I don't have anything like that because all my teachers knew I was a wrestling fan. I made it very obvious. I had wrestling lunchboxes, wrestling t-shirts, everything you could think of. So my childhood was completely based around wrestling. And it's cool now because I'm living my dream. Like, I'm living my childhood dream. I'm doing exactly what I wanted to, so it's pretty awesome.
Dude, it's funny that you should mention that part. Later on, they still knew I liked to reenact wrestling moves, so they would egg me on and peer pressure me. Hey, yo, Keith, what is that Rock's move, the rock bottom? Do the rock bottom. Here, I lay on the floor for you. So I can't do the rock bottom on you. You're a teaser. Oh, do it for me. It's fine. So they knew I throwing myself out against the wall and reenacting the rock bottom and everything, but because I'm, they think they can get away with that shit.
That's messed up, dude.
But basically, and in the next question I was going to ask you about your school history. My school was basically a bunch of snobby little pricks who, if you had money, you can do whatever you want. If you weren't a jock and a bimbo, you can pay off teasers. It's basically a rich, snobby country club feel. Now,
right.
Directing that back to you, what type of school did you go through?
I mean, I went through public education my whole life, and there's this stigma of Staten Island where it's a lot of the Jersey Shore kids, and that stigma is 100% true, because the kids that I grew up with were the worst kind of people ever. I didn't fit into any clique or anything in high school because I didn't like going to the parties. Personally, I'm straight edge, so I don't drink, I don't do drugs. All these kids were about popping pills and smoking weed and drinking. So in school, all these kids were exactly what you would think a Jersey Shore douchebag Guido would be. So wrestling and punk rock music, honestly, were my outlet because I didn't fit in with any of these kids. So in my school, there was maybe 5 or 10 people out of a 4,000 kid school that I fit in with, because my high school is actually one of the largest high schools in the country. It's top 3.
Well, my school, so I think one of the second, because I think that was 12,000, 9,000. It was up there.
Wow. That's huge.
But like you're saying, people were doing drugs, and my school did have professional wrestling, amateur wrestling.
Amateur wrestling, right.
And, there were cases where most of them were taking steroids, or the teasers would be giving them steroids, and it's, were you doing this? And you're picking on me because I haven't learned. It's, I don't know, it's such a big hypocrite thing.
That's what a lot of kids are all about. They have all these insecurities and they take it out on other people. And I always hated that. That was not, like, to me, that's not okay. Like, because you don't like something about yourself, you're going to take it out on someone else. How does that make any sense?
That's true. My dad's a famous teaser in the city. I don't know if you heard of it. He worked at Henry Hudson.
Okay, yeah.
He worked over at Henry Hudson IS 125.
Right.
And he had Wesley Snipes in his class. Around the corner, J-Lo went to school when my dad was teasing. And it was basically, mixture of white, black, Spanish. And it doesn't really matter, I'm not racist. And I said, and at the time I interview a Spanish person or black person, I said, I went to your school. And it's like, why? You're white. That's not the point. And I would tell them what I told you, what I had to go through. I didn't learn shit at my school. And when you go to school with people that, the black and the Spanish or the Asian, you appreciate things more because it's just what you have to learn and what you survive on. And basically my education was, and this got to be directed back at you, my education was go in the corner and read the paper. For 4 years. That's why I used to skip the class. I didn't learn anything. I was basically pushed along because, I was mentally retarded and labeled as that. But, directed back at you, do you wish you got more out of your education, or how you feel about it?
So, alright, so my school was actually pretty diverse. We had all races, we had everything. Do I wish I got... That's a good question, man. See, the problem is, all I care about is wrestling. So, if it didn't further my wrestling career, I really didn't care. And I didn't get bad grades in school. I did pretty well. I never really failed anything. I always passed, and I always passed with good grades. But I didn't care enough because... That's a great question. That really has me thinking now. I'm going to say no. I think I got everything I wanted because in high school I met my best friend that I'm still friends with to this day. I started my professional wrestling career. I had my fun. I had the punk rock scene, so I still listened to music. I went out with my friends. I did what I wanted to do. So no, I think it was actually pretty good because it was cool to see myself not fit in with everyone because I knew that I don't want to say that I was better than them, but I knew that I was different than them and I didn't need the things that they needed to get along in life. And now I look at myself, I'm 23 years old, and I'm pretty successful with professional wrestling. I have a job, I'm college educated, and I look at these kids I went to high school with. Some of them have kids that they're not responsible for. Some of them are drug addicts living out on the street, and it's all right, cool, you were the cool kid in high school, and now look at you, and I was just the little dweeb, but look at me. So
absolutely.
Hey.
No, I agree. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I agree with you everything you just said.
Yeah, look at you. I'm sure the kids that bullied you are doing nothing with their lives right now. They're probably still living off mommy's and daddy's money. They probably don't have any aspirations, any career, and they're probably still picking on people because they think that that's the cool thing to do. And once you get older and a little more mature, you should realize that, hey, that's kind of terrible. You know what I mean? It's not a... It shouldn't even be done in high school. That should be done when you're a kid and forgotten about. And these kids, they have to do it to make themselves feel better.
Absolutely, and most of the time it wasn't really the students, it was the teachers too.
That's horrendous. That's terrible, man.
I tell you one story. This teacher came into my school. Basically, one day he was going back and forth in class. He wanted to stand still, so he was making my hand shake, and I said to him, Yo, man, what the hell was your problem? Since then, he had this cane up his ass. He hated me. So he came in my store. I worked at the North Face at the time. And he said, "Oh, I didn't know you worked here. Okay, let's see if you're confident in doing something. I'm looking for a jacket. Go get me this jacket. No, better yet, don't do it, because I know you're inconfident. Let her do it, because she looks more inconfident than you are."
Wow.
But yeah, my manager, who I liked at the time, you ever see Empire Records?
Yeah, of course.
You know the guy, Joe?
Yeah.
He looked exactly like Joe. So when he said to me, "Hey, Keith, why are you in the back?" and I told him, he's like, "Okay, I will take care of him for you." He walked out, and the guy saw him walking up to him. He was like pissed off. He runs out of the store. "I took care of it for you."
That's awesome.
I missed that guy. He was a nice guy.
That's great.
But
I mean, like, so like currently I train at a wrestling school. Like I train students now, and two of my students are actually autistic. One of them is very, very high functioning, and one of them is a little bit lower functioning, and they're picking up very quickly, and they can do everything that everyone else can do. It's just I have to pay a little bit more attention to them, and they tell me stories about how they got picked on and all this stuff, and it hurts me because like I kind of see them as like my little brothers because I'm trying to help them succeed in life, and for them to be put in that position, it's kind of terrible. So I know what you're talking about, and I see it all the time. It's not right. It's just not okay.
hey, if you're interested, would you be willing to train me, or because I wear glasses, that would roll me out?
No, I wouldn't rule you out at all. I mean, you would probably be fine, to be honest.
And besides, it would toughen me up anyway. So,
absolutely, it's definitely a tough sport to get into.
Well, I don't mean to put you on the spot. That's an idea.
Yeah, absolutely. You just keep in contact with me, and we'll keep this going.
Can you hang on for 1 second?
Of course.
Jim Duggan, have you gotten a chance to work with those guys, or not yet?
Yeah, I've worked with X-Pac, Tommy Dreamer, Val Venus, Balls Mahoney, Sandman, Nunzio, Tony Mamaluke. Who else? There's a couple others that I can't think of right now, and I'll be working with Mr. Anderson coming up in March.
That's nice. If you can hook me up with an interview, or maybe you can give me like some backstage pass, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Let me know. I'll hook you up with 2 tickets to the show. If you want to come down, that'd be awesome.
Now, what about any of the women? Have you got a chance to work with them, or not yet?
I worked with, excuse me, let me mute this real quick. I worked with Brooke Adams. She's from TNA. She was in WWE for a little bit. Who else? And Sunny, I worked with. She's a little off the walls.
The only wrestler besides you that I got the chance to talk to, that I can send you the link to, it's Lenny Pablo.
Oh, nice. Lenny's a great guy.
And I haven't talked to him, but I have to get in touch with him. But I was talking to an agent yesterday, and she was telling me about, people like Sonny and Dormery, that you would have to pay them for their time.
Right, of course.
But it's kind of like, at the same, okay, I understand you, this is what they do. But at the same time, what I'm doing, couldn't there be like an agreement, like we can work something out? Because he was throwing numbers at me like 800, 1200. It's like I don't have ATM stamped on my forehead.
The thing is, one, they don't take that from them. Always offer a lower price, because I guarantee you they'll take it. Two, they have to, like you said, it's what they do. So this is their job. So when they do interviews and stuff like that, that's their job. That's their livelihood. So I don't know if you could really work something out. That's something you would have to discuss with them. Like with me, I obviously get paid to wrestle, and I get paid pretty nicely. But I'm not going to charge someone to do an interview with me because not only is it promoting you, it's also promoting myself. And right now, that's what I need. The thing with those girls is they don't need that. They're big enough where they don't need more promotion. So they tend to get a little stuck up and forget where they came from.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you think, okay, give you a perfect example. If I came at you two professional ways. One, I didn't tell you about anything about my learning disability. I just told you about my talk show. What would you have said?
Honestly, one of the reasons I did your talk show is because I appreciate that you're someone with a learning disability that is actually doing something. I like that. I think that that's awesome because you're proving, like we've been talking about this whole time, everyone that made fun of you, you're proving them all wrong because you're doing something awesome that they're not. So that's why right away I was like, absolutely, let's do this. I mean, if it was a regular talk show, it'd be a regular talk show, and I'd still say yes, but I was excited to do this. You know what I mean? Like, for me, this was something nice. Like, this was cool.
And plus, we're building a friendship, too.
Exactly, exactly.
But like you said, people forget about where they come from and everything. Do you think someone say they become hypocrites? Do you think they just forget where they came from?
Yeah, it's definitely a mix of both because I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends that have made it successfully to WWE or Japan or whatever it is, that always remember where they came from, and they're still good people at heart. Some people, it gets to their head and they change who they are. And they become hypocrites because they would talk about all this back in the day, and then they would just forget about it now. So it can change people.
Now, where do you see yourself now? Like, do you work at, I know there's one in New Jersey, East Coast Pro Wrestling, and I know there's one in the city, I can't remember the name, but I think Ring of Honor is in Pennsylvania.
Right.
I think so, that's the last time I checked. Where do you see yourself moving up? Have you ever gotten an opportunity to go to TNA, done WWE, or?
So, Ring of Honor is based out of Pennsylvania, but they are becoming very worldwide because they do have a TV deal now with Sinclair Networks. So they're on very, very few, like we have Channel 11, I guess. They're on very few of those, but Ring of Honor is probably my next step. I have some friends there that I would like to go see and try to get in. The only problem is with Ring of Honor, to work for them, you have to train with them, and their training is out in Pennsylvania. So for me, that would be a 2-hour ride every day that I don't really have time for right now because I have a lot going on in my life. This year, 2015, I would like to try to get a tryout match for TNA or WWE. That is one of my goals. I would also like to travel to like Mexico or Japan or something along the lines of that. So that's my goals right now, is to travel more and not pay for it, because a lot of guys can go out and they could pay for their plane ticket to England or Mexico and they could go wrestle, but that's not what this business was about. When in the 90s or even 10 years ago, when everyone was getting flown out, it was an interest in you. So I want to become big enough that companies have an interest in me to pay for my plane ticket, pay for my hotel, and pay me to come wrestle on their show. So that's my goal for this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. I would love to support you in that.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, it's going good right now because first off, I'm booked every weekend. I wrestle every single weekend all over the country. I'll be driving up to Chicago in February, which I'm really excited for because it's one of my favorite cities, and I get to go wrestle there, and I'm wrestling 2 nights in a row there. So, and I'm getting paid pretty nicely, so it's starting to come full circle for me, which is why before, when you asked when I was a kid if I pictured myself here, no, because I was an out-of-shape kid. Only within the last year and a half did I get myself in shape, because I was like, you know what? This is my dream. I might as well put 110% into this dream, and it's paying off almost instantly. So it's pretty great.
Now, going back to what I said early in the show, what got me into wrestling and what killed it for me. After the whole BS in high school that I mentioned,
right?
During '99, I was a big fan of Owen Hart and Bret Hart. Still am a big fan of both of them. But after the whole incident was Owen when he fell from the ceiling and the whole story, it just killed wrestling for me. I still watched it. Yeah, I didn't really as cared for it as much anymore. But it's because, Trish Stratus, and you're thinking, oh, well, it's a guy thing. Thanks to Trish Stratus and Lita, it's true. They did get me back into it because they're both gorgeous women.
And they're phenomenal wrestlers. They're unbelievable talent.
And at that time, thanks to them getting me back into wrestling, I was like, hey, I didn't know Chris Benoit. And a lot of people still say criticism, but personally, I don't know about him personally. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. But professionally, he is always going to be one of my favorites, and that's Chris Benoit.
Same.
And, I started to watch for him. Then Brock Lesnar came on and Batista. And it's like, okay, isn't as great now. I'm watching this for the women. And they're great athletes. They do a better job than the guys. No disrespect. Yeah. And, but it really didn't have that appeal to it anymore because it was right after the Attitude Era and everyone's doing the same thing. Okay, occasionally you do blood, you go through a table, but every single night you're asshole, bitch, fucker, N-word, C-word. It's kind of like, what is this? And it's kind of like, it ruins it after a while.
Absolutely.
And so that's one reason it killed it for me. But, I still watch it, because I was 4 years old and it's a force of habit to keep watching it. But, I missed the Monday Night Wars of WWF versus WCW. That was the best. In the early 90s. No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I said absolutely. I'm agreeing with you.
And the early 90s were the best. The only thing good now are the women, because the wrestling's more talking than any, 3 hours of Triple H and John Cena. I was like, come on.
But, alright, so the thing with those guys is, I would kill to be John Cena. He is the top of the business. He is selling millions of t-shirts every week. All the kids love him. The ladies love him. People pay to see John Cena, so the reason that he's on the main event every week is because he's pulling the ratings. Because if you look at numbers when John Cena's gone, the numbers drop, and that's an honest truth. So a lot of people complain about John Cena, but I have all the respect in the world for the guy because he's exactly where I want to be.
That's true. And well, Triple H is the same thing.
Right. And to agree with you on the women right now are unbelievable. I don't know if you watch NXT, but Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, Bayley, Paige, Emma, all these girls are just phenomenal athletes, and they are having incredible matches, and it's inspiring not only to women that I know, but to even guys like myself, because these women are putting on these matches that are unbelievable. So I want to top that. So them putting on good matches is making all the guys better too, because now the guys have to be like, oh man, now the women are competing at our level, we have to step it up, which is only going to make the product better.
Absolutely. And now 2 questions. Do you think there should be competition, because McMahon bought out ECW? I didn't really think ECW was a competition, but maybe it was for the most part. But do you think when it was WWF versus ECW versus WCW, that's when it was good? Now because
I think competition creates cash, and that's 100% true, because when you don't have competition, why do you care? When you have competition, you care because you want those ratings. You want to beat your competition. So I want wrestling companies to succeed. I want TNA to succeed. I want New Japan, who just had their first pay-per-view in America, to succeed. I want Ring of Honor to succeed, because if all these companies succeed, that gives me an opportunity to go anywhere.
That's
where,
true.
like, in the 90s or in the early 2000s, there was more of a chance for wrestlers because you had 2 giant companies in WWF and WCW. Even ECW, guys might not have been making a lot of money, but they were getting a lot of exposure worldwide. They were traveling the world. They were going to Japan. And still to this day, the ECW guys are making a ton of money. And they're still on shows, like I said. I've worked with Nunzio, Tony Mamaluke, the Sandman, Balls Mahoney, all these guys, ECW guys that are getting paid a good amount of money to be on shows and work with younger talent to make them better. So, yeah, I want some competition because I want an opportunity. And right now, there's not an opportunity because, I mean, there is, it's just a small one, but WWE can only have so many employees. They're not going to hire 1,000 people. Right now, WWE has at least 70 employees in NXT alone. You see maybe 20 of those people. So it's very, very hard right now to make a name for yourself on that level. So I want another company to succeed. I want all the companies to succeed because I want a place to go.
And the other thing I was going to say, you know, when TNA had an opportunity to reenact the Monday Night Wars, and they fucked it up.
It's funny because I was actually thinking about that earlier for some reason, but go on.
You know, that was Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, and it got to be, everyone was so excited. Even my family and my brothers were excited. I can't wait to see it. It's got to be the start of Monday Night Wars all over again. And the first match, it sucked.
Yep.
And then the second match, and it's kind of like, what is this? And it was funny, I don't remember if it was Raw or if it was TNA, but they were watching the other competition. It was pretty interesting. I don't know if that was real or not, but I remember that. It was really funny.
Yeah, TNA had some real bad ideas, some real bad business decisions, but God. First off, they had something different with the 6-sided ring. They changed it to 4. It's back to 6 now. TNA has incredible talent. I mean, their roster is stacked with talent. They need to give these guys some time to perform because if an audience, or a larger audience, because if an audience sees these guys perform, there is no reason why they can't succeed.
You talk about AJ Styles, Samoa Joe,
Austin Aries, even
yeah.
Robbie E. Robbie E might not be the most high-flying, crazy guy, but his character is incredible, and he knows who he is. So, from the top to the bottom, that roster is good. They need to give their guys more of an outlet.
Now, what are the downsides? The downsides would be copying everything you see on Monday, and it's like, why? WCW never used to copy Raw. Raw never used to copy Nitro, but TNA copies WWE, and TNA copies, and you can't copy and then try to replicate. Like, occasionally it works, but most of the time it backfires.
Right, like it's TNA trying to be WWE, and they shouldn't. They should try to be TNA. What made ECW so successful is that they were something different. They weren't WCW. They weren't WWE, and that's why people liked them. That's why people cared.
That's true. And one thing I do wish that they did back in WWE is bring back the draft.
I agree completely. Once again, it gives more guys opportunity to succeed because now instead of one show, you have 2. Right now, SmackDown is just another Raw. But if SmackDown, let's say you had Raw 3 hours, SmackDown 2 hours, you have Main Event, which is an hour, and Superstars, which is an hour. Yet the same talent is on every show. If they had a draft, a split, you could bring up more talent. You could put guys in better positions. You could have an actual Intercontinental Championship group of people, an actual U.S. Championship group of people, and you instead of competition, you could make your own competition between the 2 brands. And once again, it gives more guys a chance to succeed, which is what we all need as professional wrestlers.
Absolutely. Now, going back to another note, have you ever gotten a chance to win any titles?
I've won tag team Oh, sorry, dropped my phone. I've won tag team championships. I haven't won any singles championships yet.
Do you have the belts on you, or is it one of those things like you won it, but you had to give it back?
Yeah, I did have them, but we've lost them since then, and we're actually completely done with the company that we won them from. But I think there's a lot of opportunities coming my way, so we'll see what's going on.
Well, if you're interested, I would love to be your manager. You don't have to pay me, but it would be nice.
If you want to come down to a show, I will absolutely try to make that happen.
Yeah, we can work on it.
Try that out.
I have no idea what that is. I don't know if you saw that on camera, but apparently someone has a sense of humor. And that brings us to our last subject. Do you still have time to talk, or you have to wrap it up?
I have a little bit of time. I'm trying to get out of it. I have about 10 minutes.
All right. Well, I apologize to sidetrack you or anything, but...
No, this is great.
Now, the last subject I was going to ask you, because, I didn't want it just to be like a wrestling show and everything. And apparently, hang on, someone has a sense of humor and knocked this off my shade. I'm in here by myself, so I have no idea what that is. Apparently, someone wants me to shut up.
I guess so.
Do you believe in, I don't want to say sound stupid or anything, but do you believe in an afterlife? Do you think when we die there's another life, or do you think this is just it?
That's something I've juggled with my whole life, to be honest. It's so hard to say. All right, so I wasn't raised by a religion. My mother is Jewish, my father is Catholic. They chose to let me believe what I wanted to believe. And I think that's the best thing a parent can do, because it's not forcing you to believe anything. There have been way too many things that have happened to me that don't make sense for me not to believe in an afterlife. Because I've been in car accidents that should have killed me, and I haven't walked away with a scratch on me. I get weird, things that happen. My grandfather was a very big part of my life. He passed away about 10 years ago, and still to this day, he's still there. It's hard to explain. So, yeah, I guess I do believe in an afterlife. I just don't know what it is.
No, I agree with you. And, occasionally I get, a tug on my shirt, or it's, I get a smell of their own apartments that I used to be in.
Right.
I got, a smell, and apparently I got this thrown at me, so I guess they didn't like the fact I asked you if I can be a manager. But, that's between you and me. But I was in a car accident, too, that I almost died in. But luckily I had a seatbelt on, but, it's...
There's one accident in particular that I'm thinking about, and I was with my best friend, and we were driving, and it was very icy out. And I was young. I was 18 years old. I had just gotten my license. I wasn't really mature enough to be driving yet. We hit a very sharp curve. I spun out, and I hit a wall. But I missed two cars by about a foot each, and I missed a giant telephone pole by literally inches. If we would have hit any of those, I would have been dead. So... still to this day, I think about that, and I'm like, that's weird. There was something there that saved my life. There was something that didn't want me to go at that time. So since then, yeah, I've believed that there's something there. And if you watch any of my matches, you'll see me do something when I get in the ring. I always do an X, and I do a 3 and a 1, and I kiss my arm. And that's because I have a tattoo from my grandfather there, and I point to heaven. Because I dedicate every match to him, because I still feel like he's watching over me. So I do think that there is something at the end. Like I said, I have no idea what it is. It could be a heaven, it could be a purgatory, it could be they're still here with us to protect us. I don't know, but I do feel like there is something.
Well, have you ever gone to or heard of John Edwards? Not the guy who had an affair, but the guy...
Yeah, of course. The man who speaks to deceased relatives.
Yeah, I'm not smiling at this because you're saying deceased. When I think of John Edwards, last show I went to, my grandfather pulled a prank on my dad. If my dad told me, I would have stood up and like, yeah, that's me. Basically, my grandfather passed away. Yeah, the one who told me about the wrestling was got backfired. That was my mom's father.
Right.
But my dad's father passed away, and when he was going through the stuff, and by the way, we never met before, so I have no idea how this came up. He says, "I see someone going through my stuff, and he comes across my vibrator." And that's like, okay. And I see a corner of my eye, my dad just slowly seeping down in a chair, and it's like, well, Yeah, that's Grandpa's sense of humor, because how would he know? But I didn't know, and I didn't stand up. But it's stuff like that. But I believe in heaven. I've seen God. I think I've seen God, unless I'm high. But I don't do drugs. I believe in the devil. Yin and yang, there has to be a balance.
Evil to be good, right?
And it's just one of those things where you do a good thing, like you being on my show and we're building a friendship. That's a good deed. Or if you believe in the multiverse, where there would have been another version of you that says no, that you didn't want to do it. Like, yes, you said yes here, but in the other universe you would have said no, and same thing as me. Instead of doing talk show in this universe, the other universe, I would have done something else. But
right. Yeah, there's so many theories to like reflect on, which is why I keep saying I don't know, because I don't want to confirm anything, because I don't know. There's so many. I can never look down on any religion at all, ever, because I don't see that. It's so hard. I'm trying to like format my thoughts right now. I can't look down on a religion because we don't know. We don't know. There's the Quran, there's the Bible, there's the Torah, there's all these different books, there's the Satanic Bible. How do we know which one's real? And I think that anyone should believe, like, I'm sure you're Catholic, you believe in God, you believe in the devil, correct? That's what you were saying?
Well, I'm Jewish, but I don't...
Okay, Jewish, all right.
I don't do the whole religious thing.
Right, so I would never say you're wrong. There's no way I could, because I don't know. And any of these theories could be right. So I respect any religion, and I actually like getting into debates. Not debates, I like hearing what people think. I like hearing... My uncle's a priest, and I'll sit there, and I don't agree with him a lot of the times, but I'll sit there and I'll just let him talk, because I want to hear what he thinks, because I don't know about this, and I want to be more educated to it. And I like hearing the different sides of religion. Like, my mother's family, like I said, is Jewish. I like hearing about that. I like hearing about anyone who's Arab who can tell me something different, who thinks that there's 7 gods or 8 gods instead of just one. I think that's incredible, because there's so many different structures, and it all comes from one original thought of God. What is God? I don't know. Is he there? Yeah, I think so. Is it a he? Is it a she? Is it a being? I don't know. And I think that's incredible.
It's kind of funny. My dad had to retire, but he didn't want to retire. So he now works in a Hasidic school. And,
wow.
And so he asks the rabbi, do you believe in heaven? And in the heaven and hell? He's like, there's yes and no. And it's like you said, isn't it? You never know. But wrapping up, do you have any funny stories you'd like to share, or any pranks that you pulled on people?
I mean, oh man, it's the world of wrestling. We prank everyone. I mean, there's a common thing that we all do, which is actually pretty mean. We do a mousetrap prank when people are sleeping. So we put mousetraps on their phones and the light switch. So we'll call their phone, they'll hit the mousetrap. They'll go to turn on the light, they'll hit the mousetrap. They'll go to turn on the sink, it'll be a mousetrap. We do a lot of messed up things. One was, we were all in North Carolina. We pranked our buddy. We told him that one of the girls that we had to pick up along the way got arrested because she had pot on her. This was completely false. So we pranked him. He got all nervous. He's like, all right, guys, just come to the show. We'll figure it out. We went to the show. She was obviously there. And then I wake up in the middle of the night. He's naked about to Jimmy Superfly splash me. So the world of wrestling is pretty crazy.
I got one. It didn't happen to me, but my brother, for whatever reason, does a lot of stupid shit, but it's really funny. But let's bring it towards you. Did he ever get punched in the face while taking a shit?
No.
So basically, he went to Plattsburgh and had his apartment with 2 other friends. And don't ask me why, but the bathroom window didn't have a screen. So, so anyone on the sidewalk can walk past and walk in. So basically, this guy was walking past, thought about it, walked back and as he saw his friend Hudson up taking a dump, races in for the open window and punches somebody in the face.
Oh my god! I don't know what I do. You can't do much because you're still taking a shit, so you can't chase the guy.
The other funny story is, he embarrassed Booker T to the point he went in to kick his ass. He went to a TNA event, and he was drunk, apparently. And he yells at Booker T during his match. He's taking on, I think, Robert Roode, James Storm, and about to hook up. And he yells, Booker T, yeah, Booker T, you can't read. And I sort of got Booker T, and the guy stops dead in their tracks, and they're looking around. I was like, who the fuck said that? But what made it funnier, and his friend's like, okay, after the next match, I have to take a piss. And he got up, and guess who he was pissing next to?
Booker T.
Yep, and he was looking for that person.
That's awesome.
Now, wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners?
No, guys, just continue to support. If you want to find me on Twitter or Instagram or anything, it's at RudeBoyRiley, RudeBoyRiley. Just follow me, keep up with my stuff, and let's get this dream going. Let's get the support out there.